Mike Slater on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. The best part, it's absolutely free. Watch your favorite programs live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. Don't wait. Download the First TV app right now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android, iOS, and Apple TV. Just search the First TV in your favorite app store and start watching today. Stay informed. Stay connected. Download the First TV app right now. It's free.
Hey, Cider Crusaders, welcome back. We're going to talk about the debate all day today. It's coming up here. And, of course, after the debate, we have Bill O'Reilly with our post-debate analysis, and then Jesse Kelly. Garrett Best is here. He's the VP of Government Relations and Communications at Heritage Action for America, which is connected to the Heritage Foundation. What's up, Garrett? How are you?
I'm doing well. How's it going?
Good, man. So let's do, like, top 3 things, maybe topics or policy that you think Trump needs to do tonight, needs to bring up tonight to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. And first off, thanks for having me on to talk about this. I think this is going to be the last big shot to capture a broad-ranging audience for the president. And so I think he needs to do a couple things. One is we know for sure that whenever healthcare is the main topic on people's minds, that Democrats tend to do better. And that's why everything has been geared around the conversation, even around COVID, is just healthcare generally. They're trying to make it into the Affordable Care Act, pre-existing conditions. Amy Coney Barrett hearing has been about healthcare. So Democrats are really trying to drive that narrative. They know they do better when that's the topic. And so the president really needs to do a couple things. He needs to not belabor the healthcare discussion. He needs to be clear that he has a plan, and we do. There's conservative organizations like ours that are ready to step in with options for the president when he wins his reelection. But just then move on, because where he really does well is on the economic recovery from COVID. So anytime it's about businesses reopening and how we reopen society and we reopen our schools and that kind of discussion, the president does much better. He needs to talk about the peace and security of our neighborhoods. That's been tamped down by the media over the past 6 weeks or so, when the Republican National Convention in August highlighted the violence that we were seeing on our screens and highlighted the response to that, the law and order response that is necessary to tap that down. The president did very well. Matter of fact, you see it in many polls, and particularly in battleground states, you see the president sort of having a little bit of a jump in the polling. And since then, that conversation has been tamped down. So he needs to focus on the peace and security of our neighborhoods. And then, thirdly, I think, and along with the neighborhoods, I would say maybe preserving our institutions, sort of work that narrative in there as well, because that's a target of the left. And as long as he can be the person standing in the way of a left-wing government that aligns with Antifa and BLM, then he'll be in good shape. And then sort of lastly, I think he needs to use the Senate Judiciary Committee about 10 minutes ago reported out Amy Coney Barrett to the floor. We're getting ready to go down and hold a rally. That's why I'm dressed in rally garb here. But we expect that vote on Monday. And so tonight, the president has the opportunity to drive home the fact that he has chosen, just a roundly accepted, qualified and poignant and graceful justice to the U.S. Supreme Court. And a Biden-Kamala Harris administration will do no such thing. And so this is a big win of the past 4 years, and he needs to hammer that point home.
All right, I like all these. Let's go down these again real quick. So on the healthcare, I thought Trump did not a good job with that at the town hall. He was way too vague. If I remember, he was just like, we have a plan, it'll be better. We have a plan, it'll be better. I think people just want something. Right? Can't you just come up with like one thing? Like even like 4 years ago, he was like, oh, well, get rid of the state boundaries, right? And like even if people didn't really understand what that meant, at least it was like, oh, a thing. I think people would need one. So we'll look for that tonight. I love what you said about reopening, right? Because that's aspirational. And I think people really want to reopen. And do you guys have any, I don't want to say polling, but just your vibe, like what the breakdown is of that across the country? Because it's so political now, right? Like Democrats, like I'm here in California, right? Democrats here are scared to go outside, and Disneyland's going to be closed till next summer. So do you think that's a winning issue when he talks about reopening?
Yes, I think particularly you're starting to see movement in minority likely voters. So Black males in particular and Hispanics across the board. And this is a single biggest issue for them is the fact that these small businesses that people pour their livelihoods into starting and keeping going are being hollowed out. And they're being hollowed out by government fiat. They're not really being hollowed out because our economy went through some sort of natural sort of downturn. They're being hollowed out because the government won't let them work. And I think President Trump needs to take up the mantle of being their advocate. That people's livelihoods and their futures are being crushed under what initially was a short-term, slow the spread, give our hospitals time to deal with the health impact, to now being not until one single person is done getting sick, we're going to shut everybody down.
And then he needs to make that so clear tonight.
Yeah. To your question about polling, we are actually in the field in 4 battleground states: Wisconsin, Iowa, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. This has been a long-term plan for us over this year, and we have contacted probably by election day we'll have contacted about 5 million swing and low propensity Trump voters in those 4 states. And one thing that has just started to pick up in those 4 states from the people that we have on the ground walking and knocking on doors is the fact that now parents are 6, 8, 9 weeks into their schools being closed again, and they're having to deal with their particularly young children at home, and they're not. We can discuss the public education system and how you might reform it all day long in another conversation. But right now, students are not even getting real access to that, particularly at the younger grades. And that is starting to resonate with people. Again, I hesitate to call it polling, but it's a conversation that we are constantly running into. And interestingly enough, the heaviest part of that conversation is occurring in Western Pennsylvania, just from the people that we have on the ground. So
interesting.
I want another thing to talk about.
No, I would love to hear the president talk about opening up schools. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I'm fascinated by how you identify a low propensity Trump voter. What does that person look like?
Yeah, so we worked with an organization that does extensive polling that was sort of on the front edge of picking up that President Trump was going to not only win the Republican nomination, but do very well in the general election. So about 2 years ago, we started working with this organization to, first off, the first sort of round was to identify a common set of policy objectives that both sort of the traditional 3 legs of the stool Republican base so reforming our secondary education system, taking on China, reinvigorating the American economy through on-the-job training and trades programs and those kinds of things, and a couple other items such as stemming the flow of illegal immigration, that kind of thing. So we asked a huge set of people in the Republican base what their policy goals were. And then we started expanding out. We actually built out a demographic model. And I think it's pretty easy to pick up on the highlights of that model. People that are sort of, have not been engaged in presidential years of 2012, 2008, maybe even further back, but were engaged in 2016, but maybe didn't vote in 2018. So sort of that type of voting pattern, but also people that are, they maybe didn't complete a 4-year college degree. Maybe they're in a outside of an urban center, so they don't necessarily have access to all the boom in recent years in urban communities. And so sort of built that model out. And that's helped us identify a whole series of people that we think could swing these. We worked in 4 states, but across the nation could swing other states.
So that's super interesting. So what would be maybe one issue that a low propensity Trump voter might be more disproportionately interested in than like your hardcore Trump voter?
Well,
that Trump could address tonight, obviously.
Yeah, I think I don't think that there's much of a policy difference. So there's sort of you see that with the low propensity Trump voter, maybe sort of and this is going to be my caricature, but like sort of the throw the hands up in the air, it's not worth it type of a mentality. To convince them that no, the things that you care about, the president is fighting for, organizations like ours are fighting for, and the base thing that you need to do is show up and vote, and I promise you it will matter. And so sort of connecting them to the policy, connecting them to the outcome, and then following up continuously to make sure that they remain connected. And our goal is just through November 3rd, but even beyond.
Sure. Could Trump really appeal to them by painting a very clear picture of what a Kamala presidency and a Joe Biden presidency could look like when it comes to our cities, Antifa, and higher taxes and no fracking? Like, I think he would just need to drive home the dystopian future that could be, right? Would that fire up those people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically, it is an old political adage, but everybody sort of votes their pocketbooks. It's not these people, we're not finding that they really want the government to sort of hand out checks. They really want opportunity. And they believe that they are being left out of the opportunity in the country. And so the president needs to sort of, going back sort of to the terminology we were using earlier for the school openings, he needs to be their advocate that he is going to make sure that they have the same opportunities that their parents had and that other people in other areas of the country have. I think that these people are often looking at the coastal states and sort of the tech centers and wondering, like, what has happened to my neighborhood? And so going in and convincing them that there's a future in America for them as well, if they engage. I think that's the roadmap.
And when there's riots in Kenosha and Lancaster, it's like, geez, what is happening in my neighborhood? Okay, Garrett, I appreciate you, because now I'm going to watch the debate coming up here from the perspective of a low propensity Trump voter, as opposed to like a hardcore Trump fan. And is he appealing to like the base? I'm going to try to look at it from a different perspective. I appreciate that. Garrett Best from Heritage Action. You go to heritageaction.com. Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's talk next about what Biden needs to do from his perspective. And then also I want to talk about what Trump can hit Biden on that could be most effective. We'll do that all coming up. Again, debate airing here, 9 o'clock Eastern, and then Bill O'Reilly with the post-debate analysis. Mike Slater, spread the word.
Trump, Biden, the final presidential debate. Full coverage begins tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First.
Hey everyone, it's Madison Giussiato coming to you once again with the good news. All across the country, we continue to see counties and states reopening who have been shut down for many, many months as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll continue to keep you updated on that. Of course, our friends in Florida lead the pack really when it comes to reopening, so we're keeping a close eye on that. But all across the country and across the world, we're continuing to see great stories of communities coming together and stories of good news that we don't hear enough about. Starting with a dementia app. This award-winning app is set to launch this month, and unlike many other apps developed by professional software developers, this one was developed by 3 teenage girls. It's quite an incredible story. The Nigerian Irish teens are the champions of the Technovation Girls, which is an international competition that challenges young women to develop an app that can solve a problem in their community. As a grandchild of someone who has been affected by dementia, this story really hit at home for me. So I'm really excited to see what the app has in store, and obviously a story of great news for these young women. And another story coming to us from New York City. I saw this video. It caught my eye actually on Twitter. It was sent to us by a couple of viewers as well. And it's from the Dance Theater of Harlem. And they are a leading dance institution of unparalleled global activism. They do a lot in the community. And this video has gone viral online, showing the members dancing through the streets of New York City and bringing some light to difficult times. Many people in New York have been struggling with the shutdown and the results that this has had on their lives, their businesses, especially in a city like New York City, of course, who was hit very, very hard, many families, many people, by the coronavirus. So incredible to see these beautiful dancers showing off their skills all across New York. And you're going to want to check this video out. And when it comes to videos, this is fabulous little video. It's great. We have great technology nowadays. We can communicate on FaceTime. We can talk on the internet, but there's really nothing like some face-to-face communication. And these two little boys show you that better than anybody else. Reunited for the first time in quite a while as a result of coronavirus. They've been best friends since they were 5 months old, and they had a pumpkin patch reunification. The video went viral online. They're now 4 years old, and they were just very excited to see each other. It's a very, very sweet video. So definitely check this one out. I'm going to be sure to share this one on social media as well. And one last story for today. A 12-year-old boy went on a hike with his dad only to find a fossil. Scientists are very excited. The fossil is actually estimated to be over 69 million years old, of a dinosaur. So an incredible discovery by this young boy. Like I said, he's only 12 years old. Definitely don't think he was expecting that, but a piece of good news for scientists everywhere who are excited about this discovery. And as always, if you're seeing good news, things happening in your communities that you're not seeing featured on the mainstream media, be sure to share them with us so that we can share them with all of our viewers. And we'll be back soon with more good news.
Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download the First TV app right now on Apple, Google Play, Roku, or Amazon Fire and start watching today.
You're watching The First.
We got the debate coming up in just a little bit. Can't wait. I want to take it from a little different perspective than our last guest. We're going to do that with former Congressman Nan Hayworth and Dr. Nan Hayworth. She was the first female doctor to serve a full term in Congress, which is an awesome little trivia question. Dr. Hayworth, how are you today?
I'm well, Mike. Glad to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's talk about, we were just talking about the top policy issues that Trump should bring up tonight, the winning issues for his base and the, the low propensity Trump voter to try to get them out. What do you think Trump needs to pin on Biden? Like what attack should he put on Biden that you think can move the needles at all?
Well, look, I think the president has so many strong arguments. If you look at just the economic argument alone, there was a New York Democrat, Dov Hikind, who just published within the past day or so a ringing endorsement of President Trump. And the first thing he talks about is the fact that we have had incredible economic growth, job growth in every community, every demographic under President Trump. Whereas under Obama, Biden, we had the slowest so-called recovery in history. And in fact, it was so slow that there was enough runway for President Trump really to take off in the meantime. And he should emphasize, of course, that Joe Biden's high taxes and so-called Green New Deal plans will raise taxes and raise the cost of living. If your taxes don't go up directly, which they will for lots of Americans, your cost of living is definitely going to go up. And he's going to ship jobs overseas because he's going to raise the corporate tax. So, this is all great stuff for every American to know. And I hope that that's one of the many, many advantages he can emphasize. The other thing, Mike, really quickly, because I know you've taken schools issues much to heart, and bravo for doing so, is that if you care about children's education, if you care about really lifting our most vulnerable communities out of poverty and despair, we saw our nation convulsed this summer by those very communities in such disarray and death and destruction. Education is the number one key. The Democrat Party is owned by the teachers' unions and owns the teachers' unions, and they are opposed to school choice. They are opposed to giving families and students the best. They're opposed to giving great teachers the incentives and the rewards and the freedom they need to do the best for their students. I think that's another winner for the president, especially in communities that may not have gone for Republicans in the past.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and you're totally right. But after all these last 4 years, and even after these last crazy, let's say like 4 to 8 months, it still will come down to the economy and education. right? I mean, that's still at the end of the day, I think how people will end up voting, and rightfully so. How do you think the president should characterize his COVID response, right? Because that's one of the big things from the media and from Biden is he didn't do enough, and blood on your hands, 210,000 Americans dead because of you, President Trump. How do you think Trump should handle that?
You know, it's been a terrible burden that's been placed on the entire world by China's negligence. And by their dishonesty. And I think the president's right to emphasize that China placed this burden on the entire world. The United States has responded with the most massive mobilization of enterprise, government, healthcare to save millions and millions of American lives, which is what we have done. The survival rate from COVID is 99%. That's a wonderful thing for the nation. And President Trump acted forcefully from the very beginning. He did cut off travel from China. It took at the end of January, it took Joe Biden 2 full months to endorse that was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, Joe Biden was holding live events, and his fellow Democrats were encouraging people to get out into neighborhoods, into crowds, you name it, until mid-March. So President Trump has led the most potent effort and mobilization in our history under the most difficult of circumstances, and the American public has benefited and will continue to benefit from the testing that's been ramped up, from therapeutics, and from Operation Warp Speed, which is developing vaccines, I can tell you as a doctor, at an accelerated pace that has never been rivaled in our history.
Yeah, he needs to hit on all that. So what I hear from that is perspective, right? So the Democrats want to lay all deaths on Trump's shoulders. But I love what you said, world. I think people need to be reminded that this is a world thing. Like, America's not uniquely ruined by this. The mobilization you mentioned, like, that's an incredible perspective, like things that have never been done before to mobilize and help. And then the vaccine, that's, again, never that fast ever in the history of man. I think that perspective is really, really good for the president. Okay, I'm going to be looking for that. Wallace, in the first debate, and we haven't talked about the moderator yet, maybe we can get to that too, but there were 2 times in particular when Chris Wallace bailed Biden out, and Biden was on the ropes, and he came in and said, oh, well, we got to move on to the next topic. And it was the fact that Biden doesn't have any endorsements from law enforcement and on court packing.
Yeah.
Do you think those are those winning things? Should Trump bring those up again?
Well, I think public safety is a great issue for the president, because just what we referred to earlier in terms of communities in disarray, this is, of course, extended to Main Street, USA, Kenosha, Wisconsin. Half of it burned to the ground a couple of months ago due to riots, due to an ineffectual Democrat governor who would not mobilize law enforcement the way they needed. Communities that are our most vulnerable have been crying out for better police protection. They don't want to defund the police. They want the police to be generously funded. They want to make sure that they can have officers who can help them when they need it. President Trump has the overwhelming support of law enforcement, including among law enforcement groups that in previous years and elections have endorsed Democrats, and that's a very powerful statement for the president. He wants every community to prosper. He wants everyone to be safe. He wants police to be able to do the right thing by everybody whom they serve. And he is really very from the grassroots. He's gotten that support. Joe Biden does not have that support because he is against public safety.
Yeah, so to get that low propensity voter out, you have to make the difference so clear between the two parties. And there may be nothing more clear and obvious, because a lot of people will throw their hands up and be like, oh, they're all the same anyway. No, like there may be nothing more clear. Maybe abortion and law enforcement. I mean, you literally have an entire party of the United States saying we want to defund the police. Like, what in the world? So, yeah, Trump needs to drive that home. Okay, let's put our Democrat hats on here for a few minutes, Nan. if you were a Biden advisor, what does Joe Biden need to do in order to come out with a win?
Oh, yeah. Well, he needs to look. Joe Biden's stock in trade in this election has been that he sounds like the calmer, more rational, decent, nice guy. So I think he needs to, from his perspective, he would need to project that image as much as he can in the face of an extremely aggressive and blunt counterpart in these debates.
Yeah, you're right. The nice guy image. But Trump can.
I don't consider Joe Biden to be a nice guy. You know what? No nice guy deliberately ruins the life of a man who was not a drunk driver when he was in a collision with, then Senator Biden's Senator-elect Biden's first wife, who very sadly died, and as did their daughter, in an automobile accident. But the man who was involved with her in the accident was not a drunk driver and was exonerated, I believe, of any responsibility for the accident. And Joe Biden has ruined that, and that man has subsequently died. His daughters have begged the Bidens to clear their father's memory because Joe Biden said, yes, unfortunately she had an encounter with a drunk driver. The man was not a drunk driver. No nice person does that. No nice person does that. That's not a decent person. That's someone who's gotten away with character assassination and much, much more. And of course, we haven't even brought up, but I imagine the president will, Mike. I imagine he'll bring up the emails that the authenticity of which the Biden campaign has not disputed, that show that Joe Biden is the big guy. Who's,
let me jump in because we got 1 minute and I want to ask a specific question about that because I think it will come up. How does Trump bring that up without making Joe Biden seem like a sympathetic father to a addicted son?
Right.
Biden's going to spin it that way.
Yeah. You know what? We should have nothing but compassion for people with mental illness. Addiction is a mental illness. They deserve compassion and therapy. But what folks with mental illness whose behavior may be affected by that addiction, they should not be put in positions of enormous responsibility. And irrespective of that, whether or not Hunter Biden was in an altered state of mind or not, he was put in positions of power directly because his father was the vice president of the United States. And it's certainly, there's strong evidence that the vice president of the United States was financially benefiting from transactions in which Hunter Biden was involved with the Chinese in at least one instance. So this is a very serious.
We'll see if Trump can make that clear because most people, not like you and me, like we're in the bubble, like we get the story.
Right.
Most people don't. So I wonder if the president can articulate that well. I hope so. Nan Hayworth, Dr. Nan Hayworth. Appreciate your time, Nan. Thank you so much for your insight.
Mike, always my privilege. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. We'll do it again. Again, coming up, debate. 9 o'clock Eastern, Bill O'Reilly's got post-debate coverage, then Jesse Kelly. And coming up next, we're going to talk to a store owner who has been the victim of this lawlessness. We'll find out what he wants to hear tonight at the debate. Next, Mike Slater, spread the word.
Trump, Biden, the final presidential debate. Full coverage begins tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First.
Hey guys, Buck Sexton here. If you love watching my show on The First TV, then make sure you stay connected with us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Parler. You can even watch us on YouTube. Stay connected and stay informed with First TV anywhere and everywhere. We'll see you there.
Looking for an email you actually want to read? We've got you covered. Sign up for the Up First newsletter only from The First. Every morning we deliver the day's essential headlines and prepare you for what everyone will be talking about. Plus, you'll also get instant analysis and real facts, helping you cut through the liberal mainstream media spin. Don't wait. Sign up for the Up First newsletter right now at thefirsttv.com.
A wise man once said you should do something great every single day before you go to sleep at night, and I have great news for you. Now you can. What can you do? Well, you can watch me. Every single night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First. My show, I'm Right, blows you away with incredible wisdom, hilarity, and of course, stunning good looks. You can catch my show, I'm Right, every single night. 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you.
Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on The First. Watch Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now more than ever, you need real facts without the spin. Tune out the 24-hour news cycle and watch Bill O'Reilly on The First TV. It's a new kind of network with fresh ideas and bold opinions. Start watching the No Spin News and so much more at thefirsttv.com. No cost, no spin, no agenda. Don't miss Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News. Visit thefirsttv.com right now. Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download it and get instant access to Bill O'Reilly, Dana Lash, Jesse Kelly, Buck Sexton, and Mike Slater on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. The best part, it's absolutely free. Watch your favorite programs live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. Don't wait. Download the First TV app right now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android, iOS, and Apple TV. Just search the First TV in your favorite app store and start watching today. Stay informed. Stay connected. Download the First TV app right now. It's free.
Hey, Senator Crusader, so we've been saying all day here that the president tonight needs to bring up law and order. And I want to talk to someone who's been affected by lack of law and order in the city that is most known for lack of law and order, and that is Portland. John Jackson is a former Marine and soldier. He's the owner of the Heroes American Cafe. And the background of the story that I understand is that Antifa and these groups targeted his business and others that are pro-law enforcement. It's called Heroes Cafe. And in a day of rage, attacked his restaurant with baseball bat and even there's bullet holes. John Jackson is here. John, how are you, brother?
Hey, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Is that true? There's bullet holes.
Absolutely true. As unbelievable as it is, not only, there's 2 bullet holes. They shot through 2 window panes. The police believe it was a 9mm. ATF actually gave me a visit. They agreed they're bullet holes, so that's 100% confirmed. And also a baseball bat on another window.
Man, what's it been like being in Portland with all this chaos for the last few months?
You know, it's the strangest thing because Portland has a reputation of being a very accepting and a peaceful and beautiful place, and just a place to kind of be yourself. And the outside agitators and the focus by media on Portland has just turned Portland into a nightmare.
Does any part of you want to go outside your business and say, I'm a black business owner? What are you doing? Do they not care?
Yeah, no, it screams to that. And that's part of the reason why every interview I've done, I wanted to do it in person or send pictures, because it just shows how these organizations are just totally, their intel and their tactics are totally just haphazard.
What are the short and long-term implications for you personally and for Portland you see because of what's been going on with the violence there lately?
I think for me personally, it just builds my resolve, and it got me to dig into wanting to help the community even more. In a strange way, it kind of turned me into a community activist, where I really just kind of wanted to run my own business, do my own thing. But it brought this latent sense of I need to help out. I need to not just, quietly vote and quietly be this person and try to build me a kingdom. Now it's more like, how do I make things better?
Love that. It's going to backfire on them. They didn't know whose window they busted down.
Yeah, it's backfired. It's really backfired.
We've been talking a lot lately about this idea of the silent majority and how enough of that. We need to be the vocal majority from now on, and you're a perfect example of that. Are you a Trump supporter, or where do you lay on that?
Yeah, I am a Trump supporter, and I was really leaning that way this election. Also, I'm a guy that's really. I guess I'm a swing vote guy. This would be my 10th presidential election, and I will be right down the middle. I vote based on my heart, based on what I'm looking for economically, based on my community. And the first go around, I did vote for Trump. However, it was more I was voting against Hillary. This time around, it's really a vote for Trump. He's the guy we need in leadership to really get us through this. He's not perfect. I think his second time around, he's a very smart guy. You don't get to become a billionaire not being smart. And I think this time, he's going to change his tactics a little bit to let's bring people together a little bit more.
Let me ask you, are you a little hesitant to say that? Right? I know you're in a hotel lobby right now, and there may be people listening, John, and there may be people nearby. And are you hesitant to say at all that you're a Trump supporter?
I was 10 days ago.
Why not more? You should be more so now, right? Because now you know what happens when you do.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's so funny. Now that I'm saying it, all these people around Portland are coming up to me whispering, I'm voting for Trump too.
Amazing. That shy Trump voter. Wow.
Yeah,
what do
I
you
call
want?
them the closet Trumps. They're in the closet.
Yeah.
In Portland, that's a big thing. Well, actually, everybody's coming out the closet, so maybe they'll come out too.
What do you want to see Trump do in a couple hours here regarding law and order? What do you want him to say?
I think he's been doing that. I think Trump needs to be enabled. President Trump needs the leaders around the country to kind of line up behind him and say, enough's enough. As a country, we need to stick together. Here's the thing that I hope doesn't happen after this election, or this is what I hope does happen. We get in there, we vote, our leader is picked, and then we don't have to agree with everything about that leader, whoever it is, Joe Biden, President Trump, whoever wins the country, we need to get behind them and get the business of the country done and the business of the people, not this divisive nature. I mean, talking about kicking a president out before he even takes office. They did it with both presidents. Obama got the same treatment from the other side. We really need, as a people, let's get some work done.
Yeah. How's your business been regarding COVID? Right? Talk about the double whammy you got hit with, right? But what's going on with COVID and you?
COVID is really bad for any service type industry, and restaurants have been hit especially hard. So our strategy is to survive it, because on the other side of that, we believe large opportunities going to exist. But it's really bad. I mean, for restaurants, it's terrible with COVID.
So do you want the president to talk about opening up? Would that be helpful to you think?
We need to open up, but we need to open up in a way that's not going to shut us down again. So, I'm trusting the leaders in the science to really figure it out. I think that a lot of times we don't have enough information, and then by the time everything's spun, we don't really know what's going on. It seems like there's some areas where we could be a lot more open, and other areas where maybe there's more restrictions required based on the amount of virus around.
Yeah, I'm good with that nuance, and I think the president can speak to that tonight. The last question for you, John. Are you scared to go back to your store, knowing that gunshots and bullets through your window?
I wouldn't say scared. I would say prepared to go back for whatever it takes. We've had a lot of support, and believe it or not, there's always two sides to the coin, and we have plenty of Americans that have reached out to me and said, hey, if you need me in front of your store with with an AK or whatever, I'll be out there. I'll stand by your side. But I don't think it's going to come down to that, because cowards usually do cowardly things in dark shadows. I don't think there's going to be much confrontation directly. I don't think they want that.
I think that's right. I'm banking on that at least. John Jackson, what is a GoFundMe that there's out there for you? How can people help out Heroes Cafe?
Yeah, the GoFundMe actually is for the next victims. What we want to do is, while I have this platform, let's put some funds together so the next guy that gets hit like this, or lady, we can walk right up and help them out. That's what we're using it for, not for Heroes. We're okay. Our customers have responded. They're supportive, and they're at Heroes.
Nice. Where can people find the account? What do they look for?
It's right on. It's GoFundMe. Go right to the page and look for Heroes Victim Fund, and there's also a link right on our webpage.
Beautiful. John Jackson, man, wonderful spokesperson, and I appreciate you coming here. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks for your service as well. Got the debate coming up. Bill O'Reilly's got our post-debate coverage. Again, 9 o'clock Eastern is the debate. Post-debate coverage right after that with Bill, and then Jesse Kelly after that. True story. Mike Slater. See you tomorrow. Spread the word.
Trump, Biden, the final presidential debate. Full coverage begins tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First. Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on The First. Watch Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now more than ever, you need real facts without the spin. Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First. Looking for an email you actually want to read? We've got you covered. Sign up for the Up First newsletter only from The First. Every morning we deliver the day's essential headlines and prepare you for what everyone will be talking about. Plus, you'll also get instant analysis and real facts, helping you cut through the liberal mainstream media spin. Don't wait. Sign up for the Up First newsletter right now at thefirsttv.com.
I'm about to blow you away with something. There's something brand new out there. I just discovered it today. It's called social media. And did you know The First is all over this new thing called social media? Apparently they're great at it. They're on Twitter, Instagram, Parler. They're on YouTube. They're on Facebook. They're all over all of it. Go enjoy The First anywhere on all of your social media stuff. If you do that sort of thing, I'm not sure if it's going to catch on, but if it does, The First will be good.
Hey guys, it's Buck Sexton here, reminding you that my radio show can be seen right here on The First TV every day at 5 p.m. Eastern. We break down all the news and current events from across the country and around the world with deep analysis that you're just not going to find anywhere else. Plus, we always try to have a little fun while we go through all that stuff together. So don't miss the Buck Sexton Show every day at 5 p.m. Eastern right here on The First.
Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download the First TV app right now on Apple, Google Play, Roku, or Amazon Fire and start watching today. Trump, Biden, the final presidential debate, coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on The First. This hour is brought to you by BJU Press, a supporter of homeschooling families since the 1980s. For a dependable, at-home online teaching resource, go to bjupresshomeschool.com.
We have debate preview time. Yes, I understand my voice sounds poor. You're going to have to deal with it all night. And whoa, maybe the biggest political scandal of our time. All that's coming up right now on I'm Right. Before we get to the actual debate from Karl Rove and Kudlow and what Trump should do and shouldn't do and what I think he will do, let's address the elephant in the room, my voice. I know you think I'm superhuman, basically some kind of demigod. I get that. And I understand my voice normally sounds like something between Barry White and honey from the bees. But today, it's a little off, and you're just going to have to deal with that because the powers that be have deemed it that I be sick for the day. However, We have something big happening here, and I'll be totally honest with you. When this Hunter Biden email stuff came out, I've talked about it. I haven't hammered it too much because I didn't view it initially as anything that was actually going to go anywhere. It obviously looks not great for Hunter Biden personally, but as you know, you watch the show, I don't really dig into that. Everybody has dumb, horrible things they've done, and some people, clearly Hunter Biden is one of them, have made a lifetime out of doing dumb, horrible things. Okay? It sucks. I'm not encouraging it. Kids, don't do that, but people do it. I don't view it as changing anything politically, and frankly, I don't view Hunter Biden's personal foibles as having any effect on my life whatsoever. But this thing's getting worse, and it's getting worse and getting worse. And let this be a lesson to you for the future, because this happens every single time there's a scandal out there, and it is every single time, whether it be against Republicans, whether it be against Democrats. This is how the scandal goes. Initially, it's released. And every side, especially on social media, will be screaming about it. And it's the worst thing ever, and this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible. The test of a true political scandal is actually how long it lasts. If it's not that valid, I don't care how loud they're screaming at first. If it's not that valid, it'll go in a day or two. People will start to try to verify things you can't verify. They'll dig into it a little more, and you see, he really probably made too much of that. Ooh, well, we made too much of that. Oh, they're making way too much of that. You know what I'm talking about. As more and more light gets shed on it, it doesn't look that bad, and we all just kind of forget about it and we move on. That's politics. That's the game. But there are some political scandals, the more and more and more you look into them, the worse and worse and worse it looks. And this thing with Hunter Biden looks really, really bad. I'm going to read you a couple specifics here in a minute. Don't let your eyes glaze over. You know, I don't bore you on the show, but there are some things you have to hear. And I will tell you this, because of what I do for a living, I have friends in certain places in government and close to the government. I will tell you the things I'm about to read you today are not as bad as it's going to get. They are combing through these hard drives of Hunter Biden still, and it's not good. What I'm about to read you ain't the worst of it, so consider that. Now, I want to give you some context. This is from my good friend, he's an investigative editor, Peter Hasson. He has this published on his social media page. I'm not going to read the entire email. I'm just going to read you the final ending part, and you should know this email is between a James Giller, he is somebody who worked with the Bidens, and this Tony Poliznovsky or something like that. I don't know, it sounds Polish, so therefore I can't pronounce it. But he is the business partner of Hunter Biden, who came out yesterday and said all these emails are not only real, I have more emails that make it look worse. So this is from James to Tony. We have a copy of the exact thing with Hunter Biden CC'd on it. So it's not like he didn't know. And it's a long email. It outlines payments and what we expect here and there. And then there's the end of it. At the moment, here is the provisional agreement that the equity will be distributed as follows. 20 for H, that's Hunter Biden, 20 for RW, 20 for JG, that's James Giller, 20 for TB, that's Tony Poliznovsky or whatever his name is, that's 10 for Jim, and 10 held by H for the big guy with a question mark after big guy. And everybody, you and I, when we heard about that, we assumed that was Hunter Biden, or that was Joe Biden. Big guy meant Joe Biden, but we didn't know. I mean, you could probably assume it. Tony comes out today and he confirms, oh, yeah, that's the big guy. And then it got worse. James and Tony, I believe it was Tony, started releasing actual text message exchanges. This is between James and Tony, released today. We're looking at the screenshots of them. Quote, don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face to face. I know you know that, but they are paranoid. He responds, okay, they should be paranoid about things. The other guy responds, for real. And then this goes from James to Tony. You need to stress to H, we know that's Hunter, does he want to be the reason or factor that blows up his dad's campaign? Things need to be done right and protective of that fact. I pinged H and just said I saw he called last night. When does he want to connect? Meaning taking the position with director and chairman. And there is actually more than I just read you on the show already available with more to come. To lay that out for you very succinctly, Hunter Biden had some really ugly deals with some really ugly people, and part of that deal was dad gets a cut. Yes, I know that sounds just like every mafia movie you've ever watched in your life, but there's not really another way to look at this. Joe Biden, as vice president, got his son some really, really lucrative things, and his son, as part of that obligation, had to kick up some cash for dad. And the media is still doing the best they can to keep a lid on it, and they're not being very successful. NPR actually put out a statement today. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories, and we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That actually happened. The TV networks, the radio networks, social media, big tech, they are still trying to censor this thing, and now they can't anymore. They've completely lost control of it. And Joe Biden hasn't denied a single word. Hunter Biden hasn't denied a single word. And now, here we are, almost presidential debate time, and Joe Biden has been in hiding for 5 days. The second this comes out, Joe Biden calls a lid on his campaign and won't show his face in public for 5 days. This is about to be a real ugly night for Joe Biden. Donald Trump, whatever you want to say about him, good, bad, or otherwise, he is not a man who is going to hold back on something like this. I don't care what the moderator tries to do. I don't care what Joe Biden tries to do. Donald Trump is going to give this to Joe Biden both barrels repeatedly tonight, and he should. And don't you dare listen to anybody, pundit or politician on the right, who says this stuff is out of bounds. If Joe Biden personally enriched himself for 8 years as vice president of the United States, and basically using his son as a slush fund for commie cash, that is the very definition of a big deal, and the American people deserve to know it before Joe Biden is possibly elected president of the United States of America. In fact, let me help you out, because life is all about pruning your tree. As you get older, you prune the trees of your interests. You realize there's only so much time in the day. You prune the trees of your friends. You don't acquire more. You generally cut one out here, cut one out there. For instance, I don't do high maintenance people. The second I sniff high maintenance, gone, we don't talk anymore. That's just how I live my life. You also need to prune your pundit tree. That can be painful sometimes. You have certain people you watch and listen to and read every day, trying to get boned up on the news, get a perspective here, get a perspective from there. Anybody you watch, listen to, or read who tells you Donald Trump shouldn't talk about this, should get the snips from you off your prune tree today. That is a born loser who will always be a loser, and I have to tell you something, wants to be a loser. We have too much of that. I told you the other night about the Republican mentality of being a loser. If you don't think Donald Trump should bring this up, it's because you're used to being a loser and want to stay that way. I've known people like that my whole life. Of course, Karl Rove has this to say.
We know about Hunter Biden. I just don't think that in the last 13 days it's as effective to talk about this than it is to talk about how Joe Biden is going to raise your taxes, diminish your savings, slow down the economy, attack our energy independence, raise your utility bill, all the stuff that Trump can spend the time between now and the election talking about. His best part of his speech last night, I thought, was not the attack on Biden. I thought the best part of it was saying, who are you going to believe about fracking? Joe Biden, what he's saying today, or what Joe Biden has been saying? Let's go to the videotape. And up pops on a gigantic screen the videos of Biden saying in the last year and a half, I'm going to end fracking, which is very important to Western Pennsylvania. So economy, I think that matters a lot more than what's going on with Hunter Biden and yet another scandal involving influence peddling on his father's name.
It matters more? Taxes? What is this Republican obsession with taxes? And believe me, I want low taxes more than you do, or as much as you do, I should say. I hate taxes. I think it's outright theft. But what is it? Why is this all we think we can talk about on our side? Why is this all we're comfortable talking about? If Joe Biden is about to be leader of the free world, and he's corrupt, and he has used his position as vice president of the United States to personally enrich himself, there is no bigger deal, period. If he'll do that as vice president, what's he going to do as president? That is the definition of a big deal. Larry Kudlow had this to say.
Well, I think the president's going to have a commanding presence, and I think he's going to lay out the case that Mr. Biden's tax hikes will decimate the economy, and I think he'll make the case for his own tax and regulatory reductions, which gave us a strong prosperity cycle. Incidentally, talk about middle class, middle income, median income families gained $6,500 over the first 3 years before the China pandemic. That is 5 times what the Obama-Biden team got over 8 years. So that's just one example. If you roll back President Trump's tax cuts, they're going to lose the $6,500. The middle class will get wiped out of those family income gains. This, according to the Hoover Institute at Stanford University. We will lose 5 million jobs, according to that report, and we will lose $2.6 trillion of GDP, nearly 10% of the economy. So I think that's where President Trump is going to go, and I think it's a very powerful case.
It is powerful, but let me tell you something, and I do numbers and figures. I like charts and graphs. Maybe it's because I'm sick, but my eyes glazed over there. It's not that that was bad information. It wasn't. It's good information. 10% of GDP and 5 million, blah, 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 you've already lost me. These personal stories of corruption, they're spicy. People watch them. People are interested. Remember, interesting is underrated. And I agree with what Hogan Gidley said. Donald Trump probably not going to go after Hunter too much. I wouldn't go after Hunter too much. But after Joe Biden for all this, oh, you bet.
The president isn't talking about Hunter Biden. What he's talking about is Joe Biden. And what these emails now reveal is that Joe Biden is flat out corrupt. This is one of the big problems with Hillary Clinton back in 2016. The American people knew about Clinton cash.
They knew. But what did they do? I mean, should I read the emails to you again? And on the subject here, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has had Hunter Biden's laptop since 2019. Should I read these again? Because I'm reading through them right now. What was the FBI planning on doing with these before Rudy Giuliani released them to the New York Post? Do you want me to read them again? No, I'm not going to do that to you. Terrible. Joe Biden issued his standard blanket statement of not really saying anything at all.
Senator Ron Johnson put out a statement on Homeland Security letterhead saying Hunter Biden, together with other Biden family members, profited off the Biden name. Is there any legitimacy to Senator Johnson's claims?
None whatsoever. This is the same garbage Rudy Giuliani, Trump's henchman. It's the last-ditch effort in this desperate campaign to smear me and my family. Even the man who served with him on that committee, the former nominee for the Republican Party, said there's no basis to this. And, you know, and the vast majority of the intelligence people have come out and said there's no basis at all. Ron should be ashamed of himself.
No basis. The director of national intelligence already said, oh, these are 100% valid. That's the intelligence community. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I'm right. Now, I may be sick, but I still slept like a baby because I have my ebb sleep. Even when I'm sick, I lay down at night, and it's not a roll of the dice anymore. Am I going to sleep? Am I not going to sleep? How am I feeling? Was it a big day today? Do I have a big day tomorrow? Nope. Ebb sleep gives me 8 solid hours of sleep every single night. I lay down, I put it on, it calms down those racing thoughts, and I'm out all night long. Ebb sleep is the reason I'm sitting in this chair talking to you today. Go to tryebb.com/Jesse. That's tryebb.com/Jesse. Use the promo code Jesse. Get $25 off. We'll be back.
Trump-Biden, the final presidential debate, coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on The First. Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download it and get instant access to Bill O'Reilly, Dana Lash, Jesse Kelly, Buck Sexton, and Mike Slater on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. The best part, it's absolutely free. Watch your favorite programs live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. Don't wait. Download the First TV app right now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android, iOS, and Apple TV. Just search the First TV in your favorite app store and start watching today. Stay informed. Stay connected. Download the First TV app right now. It's free.
Hey, it's Dana Lash, host of The Dana Show, 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern, which is also broadcast live right here on The First TV. Every day I'm here to keep you up to speed on the most important stories and information you need to know in your very, very busy life. And if you're always on the go and you just want to stay connected, download our daily podcast. Take it with you. It's a great way to get up to speed on what you need to know and stay informed on what legacy media may not tell you. Just visit danalash.com and click on that podcast link or subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on The First. Watch Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now more than ever, you need real facts without the spin. Tune out the 24-hour news cycle and watch Bill O'Reilly on The First TV. It's a new kind of network with fresh ideas and bold opinions. Start watching the No Spin News and so much more at thefirsttv.com. No cost, no spin, no agenda. Don't miss Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News. Visit thefirsttv.com right now.
Hey, Slider Crusaders. On my show, we've been diving deep into the philosophy of what we're fighting against, from Hegel, Marx, the Frankfurt School, all the way today. And once you know all that stuff, everything we're seeing today makes a lot of sense. But we're also diving deep into the principles that we built this country on, right? And what we're fighting for. Our founding fathers didn't just fight against the British. They also fought for specific principles. And that's the same thing we need to be doing today. Oh, also, there's an election coming up soon. So we got lots to talk about. True story, Mike Slater, please join us every weekday, 11 o'clock Eastern, right here on The First.
There's a new email that prepares you every day to be smart, stay informed, and always be on the alert for liberal media spin. It's called Up First, and it's only on The First TV. Get essential daily headlines, instant reaction and analysis, and the tools you need to fight back against the progressive agenda. Don't wait. Get the same email First TV hosts use to stay informed every morning. Never miss an important story. Go to thefirsttv.com and sign up for the Up First newsletter today. Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download the First TV app right now on Apple, Google Play, Roku, or Amazon Fire and start watching today.
The court packing question has been a question that's been nagging at the Joe Biden campaign, well, since he was first asked it and wouldn't answer. And he still hasn't answered. Donald Trump doesn't seem to be letting it go, and he seems to be breaking down Biden's defenses on it.
But the first thing Washington Democrats will do if Biden gets elected is pack the Supreme Court with radical left judges who will eliminate your Second Amendment and many other things. Life. Look at the things they have to rule on. They will pack it. They'll decide which businesses can exist and which will be outlawed. They will decide which rights you can keep and which are going to be revoked. They will re-educate your children, which they tried and we stopped, but they will do it. No, it's great. It's a great place. If you want your children to grow up in a free nation where they can speak their minds and practice their religion and live by their values, then you must defeat Sleepy Joe Biden and the radical left.
Sleepy Joe Biden is just, it's never going to stop getting me. I wondered if he could have gone Sloppy Joe, though, the double, whatever. But the court packing thing. Donald Trump brings it up. Joe Biden has not been answering it. Now Joe Biden's out there in the news talking about creating a commission to study the court system. I'm starting to get nervous that Joe Biden actually does want to pack the courts and he's just not telling you or I about it. I'm starting to get real nervous. And since it's campaign season, we all knew he was going to rear his ugly head at some point in time. The most divisive president of my lifetime has stepped up to say Donald Trump shouldn't be so divisive.
We're not going to have a president that goes out of his way to insult anybody who doesn't support him or threaten them with jail. That's not normal presidential behavior. We wouldn't tolerate it from a high school principal. We wouldn't tolerate it from a coach. We wouldn't tolerate it from a coworker. We wouldn't tolerate it in our own family, except for maybe crazy uncle somewhere, you know. Yeah, he's I mean, why would we expect and accept this from the President of the United States? And why are folks making excuses for that? Oh, well, that's just him. No.
Barack Obama threw people in jail. Barack Obama's Department of Justice, and this is still being litigated, spied on Sharyl Attkisson, a journalist who was doing some hard coverage of him. Barack Obama's head of the IRS, Lois Lerner, targeted Tea Party groups. Barack Obama was constantly out there blasting people in the Tea Party, calling them teabaggers, mocking anybody who watched any conservative news channels. Barack Obama routinely divided this country, blasted away at people who hated him. Barack Obama is, frankly, terrible. The guy's absolutely terrible. Trump, you knew he was going to give it to Obama. I love when he does that.
You know, did you hear the new one? They came up to me, sir, I have bad news. What? President Obama's going to start campaigning for Sleepy Joe. I said, is that good or bad news? Because don't forget, he campaigned for Hillary harder than Hillary did, right? He said he will not get the nomination. I got the nomination. He actually said he will not run. I ran. He will not get the nomination. Got the nomination. He will not be your president. I became the president.
I love when Trump gets salty like that. All right. Home title theft is a big, big problem. And here's the problem with it. You don't know when it happens. And it's so easy for these cyber thieves. They did it to me in under 10 minutes. And I saw it. I'm looking at my home title, and it has my signature and my wife's signature on it. It can happen to you. And the only thing that can stop it from happening to you is home title lock. That is the only thing. Once they get you, you're in for a long, hard road. Go to HometitleLock.com and sign up. While you're there, use the code RADIO. That gets you 30 days of free protection. HometitleLock.com. We'll be back.
Trump Biden, the final presidential debate, coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First.
Hey everyone, it's Madison Jessiato. You know, it's so disappointing that we continue to witness the double standard in the media when it comes to the coverage of the Biden family versus the Trump family, of Democrats in general versus the Trump family. With Hunter Biden, we all know what Twitter did in intentionally misrepresenting the story, refusing to allow it to be seen by users of the social media app, by shutting down accounts who posted the story. Of course, the Democrats and the Bidens are not even denying what's coming out in these emails of Hunter Biden. They're not saying that these are fake. But I think the unfortunate part is that even despite this media standard, we're seeing the double standard within voters. And we're seeing people who, of course, would be the first ones to go against the Trumps for much less or sometimes nothing at all, but they're covering up for Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. There is absolutely no reason that Hunter Biden should have ever been on that board for Burisma with no experience. There is no reason Hunter Biden should have money wired to him from foreign countries. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Imagine if this were Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. is a friend of mine, but I'll tell you right now, I'd be the first one to say that was wrong if he was the one doing what Hunter Biden was doing. We have to be fair. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard and judge this for what it is. Even if you're a Democrat, you should not want people in our government, elite members of our society, to be held to a different standard than you or I would be. Because I guarantee you, if you or I did what Hunter Biden did, we would not be walking around like Hunter Biden has been walking around. Or honestly, we probably wouldn't even have the opportunity to do what he did. Because of course he was leveraging his father's position as Vice President of the United States to do this, to make this money. And of course, the question remains, how much of this went to Joe Biden himself? We can't stop asking these questions. This is extremely important. It's unacceptable. And you can't let the media's refusal to accurately cover this stop you from asking the right questions and asking the tough questions and not stopping until we get the answers we deserve.
Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download the First TV app right now on Apple, Google Play, Roku, or Amazon Fire and start watching today.
Joining me now, my friend, host of This Is My Show with Drew Berquist. Drew, there are people who say Donald Trump should not touch this Hunter Biden, Joe Biden email stuff tonight. There are people like me that say that is absolutely insane. It is a major, major, major deal, and he has to touch it tonight. What say Drew?
I think that I lean more towards you. I think that I get the wisdom or supposed wisdom that some people are saying, hey, you know, go this direction, let him kind of hang himself on certain issues. Don't push too hard there. Focus on the issues that people supposedly care about. But people care about this because no one is allowed to talk about it. With the bans out there on social media, the mainstream media being complicit and not talking about it, it has to come to light. So I think if he can bring it up, and I think the whole tone for him throughout the night needs to be kind of on par with how he handled Samantha Guthrie last week, I guess it was, because she was awful. It's going to be 3-on-1 tonight. It's going to be him versus Biden, Welker, and the mute button. So he's got to be tough, but he can be tough, get his points in. But also, I thought he was very classy, gathered in how he handled Guthrie. He got his points across, but he also didn't go off the deep end. And I think if he can do that tonight and really push on that, he's going to have to push harder on that issue because, of course, Joe's just going to say it's a smear campaign, which is funny because I don't think he understands what a smear campaign is. That would imply it's fake. There's actually evidence there showing that it's something that people need to know about and discuss. And we're 12 days out from the election. So I think he needs to go there. I think he just needs to not go quite as far as he did last time, but still get the message across.
Drew, do people care about the Hunter Biden angle? Because obviously I don't. I think the Joe Biden angle is the angle he should hammer on it. But look, I've had friends of mine tell me, the Hunter Biden angle, you don't have to get personal. You don't have to judge the guy who's clearly just the screw up. But it does reflect poorly on Joe if his son is a disaster and Joe is dragging him all over the world, getting him important jobs. That part does matter. Does it matter?
I think it does and it doesn't. I think that you're right, that the main emphasis is this is a guy that we're voting in to be he's up for, we're not going to vote him in to be hopefully, but he's up for President of the United States, leader of the free world in 12 days here. People know nothing about some of his most significant stances. He won't talk about it. He's, even with the court packing, Joe Biden's given an answer. No, he said he's going to develop a commission to study it. Like, that's not an answer. Like, the guy won't give us anything on any of his key positions, and then he won't speak up on this, which is a massive issue and really plays into, his character, him abusing his title, his role, all of that. And then obviously, he's look, Joe Biden's proven throughout his career, which has been atrocious. Yes, he's been around for 47 years, but he's done it to benefit himself. The country's never benefited from this. I mean, name something positive he's done in 47 years, and you're going to struggle to do so. So I think that it's very much about that. It's about the company he keeps, how he raises his children. I mean, Hunter is a disaster, and some of that is just on him. But it does. I mean, parents are parents, and you can't control everything. But his involvement and not saying anything, and him putting himself and his job ahead of, I mean, at some point it should be like, all right, I got to stop and step away. You see actors do this. You see athletes do this. You see, I did it with my old job. I was gone overseas 6 to 9 months a year. It's like, you know what? I've got to spend some time with my family. And when your son's a cokehead and a disaster like Hunter Biden, like, it's probably time to stop and try and help him out. And we just haven't seen that. So I think that he is the bigger issue, because at the end of the day, we're not voting Hunter Biden in. But Joe's silence on all of this has been deafening.
I don't want to, I would never judge a father's love for his son. I don't know that there's anything out there saying Joe Biden's an unloving father. But I do have to ask the question, as uncomfortable as it may be, because you are a family man. I have sons too. Why run for president of the United States when you know it's going to lay your son's life, indiscretions, whatever you want to put it, it's going to expose them more than they ever would have been exposed before? I've been racking my brains about this for a couple days now. If you're Joe Biden and you could have retired, you have your millions now, thank you, China, and everything else, why do this to your son, let alone to yourself? Why do this?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. And I've got what I would say a pretty damn squeaky clean background. So when you've got this, you've got all these skeletons in the closet that are there. It really does say something about you, that you're willing to let all this out on the table. Your son's going to get drugged through the mud. Your family's going to get drugged through the mud. Your past is going to get drugged through the mud. And deep down, let's be honest, deep down, he knows that he has not done much to help this country. He's circumnavigated the system. He's done a heck of a job at that and making it work for him and those close to him that are around, that are, in the vicinity of Joe Biden. But yeah, I see that too. I don't understand. It just shows that he wants power, he wants money, he wants influence, he wants all those things that come along with that position. And the DNC wants him because they know that they can manipulate him and kind of push him down a different path than even he's willing and wanting to go. But he wants that other piece. He wants that power enough that he's willing to forego all of that other stuff, forego his own principles, and forgo, dealing with the garbage that comes along with this for Hunter and the rest of his family. And that's who he is. I really don't think there's been a worse candidate in a long, long time.
Now, hold on. Let's not be prisoners of the moment here. You're telling me Joe Biden is a worse candidate than Hillary Clinton was?
I think so, and here's why. I think Hillary's awful. Hillary should be in jail. Like, if I had done what Hillary had done back in 2016, I'd be in jail. But at least Hillary will say what she stands for. Now, she's awful. She's a horrible person, like belongs in a gulag that doesn't have ice cream. Like, no one should ever have to live somewhere without ice cream. But she belongs there. But this is she, at least people knew who she was. She could speak, like there was things about her that Joe doesn't have. I mean, Joe is just a train wreck. He's a train wreck. So they're close, and there's others that are close to them as well. I mean, the Democrats have got to try. They're very consistent about putting criminals up. They're good at that, and they typically do put bad people forth as their candidate. But these ones this is a whole new level with Joe. I mean, he just really. I don't, and it shows further that, look, people aren't voting in 12 days, or for the people who've already voted, they're not voting for Trump versus Biden. A lot of people are voting for Trump, but the Democrats are, hey, look, this guy's awful, but let's put him up there. Maybe Cam can succeed him at a certain point. We can start to go down this path. They're voting on anti-Trump. It's Trump in America versus anti-Trump. It's not versus Joe Biden.
Does Barack Obama help him? I know, look, I know you probably hate Obama. I personally despise Barack Obama, and I mean despise. However, he was popular. He hasn't generally been helpful to people he's campaigned for, but does Obama popping his head up at this point? I saw he spoke in Philadelphia. Does that help?
I don't think it hurts. I mean, look, conservatives dislike him, as someone who served under him. Like, I think he's a disaster. I think he's apologetic for how awesome America is. He's ashamed of America, never really understood what America was. But he is. He's charismatic. He can rev up a crowd. He's someone that the left rallies to. I mean, they love that family for whatever reason. I don't understand why, but they do. And I think that, it didn't help Hillary at the end. It was a similar time that he was doing the same thing for Hillary. Obviously we know how that went. And I don't think it pushes him way past the hump. I don't think it hurts him either. I mean, he's in Florida, I think today or later this week. So it's definitely not something that takes away from him, but I don't know that it's enough to really push him forward too, because you see what you get with Joe, and I really don't even think the Democrats are excited about him or stand behind him. They just don't like Trump, and they don't have anyone else.
And they don't have Kamala Harris. It's not like he can just focus on Kamala Harris because she's awful.
She's awful. She's the most radically left senator there was. I mean, and she's performed awful. I mean, she got crushed in the primaries. Like, there's nothing else to lean on. And we've talked about before, like, you go Tulsi Gabbard, and maybe there's a conversation to be had there, and some of those independent voters look at this a little bit differently, or the left of center voters aren't scared by this radical left push, but they're scared of her because she's somewhat reasonable and rational, for a Democrat, and they've chosen, they've anchored their boat to these other two people, and it's remarkable and sad for the state of our country that we're in.
Drew Berkus, thank you, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You need gold. You have to have a gold IRA. It just has to be part of your portfolio. Go to Gold Alliance today and get a gold IRA in case the worst happens. goldalliance.com/Jesse. That's goldalliance.com/Jesse. We'll be back.
Trump Biden, the final presidential debate, coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on The First. There's a new email that prepares you every day to be smart, stay informed, and always be on the alert for liberal media spin. It's called Up First, and it's only on The First TV. Get essential daily headlines, instant reaction and analysis, and the tools you need to fight back against the progressive agenda. Don't wait. Get the same email First TV hosts use to stay informed every morning. Never miss an important story. Go to thefirsttv.com and sign up for the Up First newsletter today.
Hey guys, it's Buck Sexton here, reminding you that my radio show can be seen right here on The First TV every day at 5 p.m. Eastern. We break down all the news and current events from across the country and around the world with deep analysis that you're just not going to find anywhere else. Plus, we always try to have a little fun while we go through all that stuff together. So don't miss The Buck Sexton Show every day at 5 p.m. Eastern right here on The First.
I'm about to blow you away with something. There's something brand new out there. I just discovered it today. It's called social media. And did you know The First is all over this new thing called social media? Apparently they're great at it. They're on Twitter, Instagram, Parler. They're on YouTube. They're on Facebook. They're all over all of it. Go enjoy The First anywhere on all of your social media stuff. If you do that sort of thing, I'm not sure if it's going to catch on, but if it does, The First will be good.
Hey, Cider Crusaders. On my show, we've been diving deep into the philosophy of what we're fighting against, from Hegel, Marx, the Frankfurt School, all the way today. And once you know all that stuff, everything we're seeing today makes a lot of sense. But we're also diving deep into the principles that we built this country on, right? What we're fighting for. Our founding fathers didn't just fight against the British. They also fought for specific principles. And that's the same thing we need to be doing today. Oh, also, there's an election coming up soon. So we got lots to talk about. True story. Mike Slater, please join us every weekday, 11 o'clock Eastern, right here on The First.
Hey guys, Dana Lash here, reminding you to download the First TV app right now. With the First TV app, you can watch my show, The Dana Show, live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. The First TV app is available on iOS, Android, Amazon, Fire, Roku, and now Apple TV. Just search for the First TV app in your favorite app store and download it today.
Joining me now is Amanda Mackey, a Republican strategist and attorney. Amanda, Donald Trump, everybody has an opinion tonight about what he should do, what he shouldn't do in the debate. I have my own opinions on it, but I want to hear from somebody different. What do you think he should do, specifically when it comes to the emails right now? We all know the email scandal. Obviously, everyone knows it by now. Well, how should he handle it?
I think that definitely, being a little bit understanding of the situation. It's important to not talk over as much as he did. There was certainly a lot of talking over, and I think that really it wasn't good. But I think that part also does play well with people who typically find someone who takes authority and, moves forward with that, a good thing. So I think really what it does is it, pits some people to say, I don't really appreciate his brash style, but then there are those that really appreciate his brash style and appreciate him being really aggressive about something. I think the problem with the emails really is that it's kind of confusing, quite frankly. Former Governor Huckabee said this. He said, it's just kind of a complex issue that not a lot of people understand. When I worked in the Senate, I would always say, just talk about things that people can talk about at their kitchen tables, and you'll win. When people can really regurgitate the issue well, then you have a winning issue, something that people will either bring you to your side or turn away people from your opponent. But when it's complex and convoluted, it just makes it more difficult.
What are those issues now, the kitchen table issues, as you call them? Is it, I hear this from Republicans all the time, and like I said, I've said on the show, I love low taxes as much as the next man, but I feel Republicans talk about taxes way too much and not near enough about other things. Or am I wrong? Is it taxes? What is it?
I think for the small business owner, certainly taxes, but I think it's so much more than that. Business regulations. President Trump has done an incredible job of, reducing so many business regulations that the Obama administration had ushered in. Really, former Vice President Joe Biden really did. That was at their helm. And so talking about the less onerous business regulations that businesses are facing now, I think is important. But look, let's be honest, there's definitely a gap here with women voters. And I think to clinch those voters, to get them on your side, what's really important right now is really a few things. One, economic stimulus. If you look at how many women have had to exit the workforce versus men, it's about 200,000 men versus 800,000 women. So 4 times more women have had to exit due to COVID. And so really understanding how important the stimulus is, understanding and having empathy for women having to leave the workforce because their kids aren't in school and what have you, I think that is really important to talk about. I think healthcare is really important to talk about. My background is in healthcare, and I worked in the Senate during the time when